I'm all the way up to like 6,000 RPM and I'm going at 50 kilometers per hour. Right, so as you can see, they are no longer green. They no longer green. Yo, what up folks, back at again with another video. So if you're new to the channel, thanks for watching. If you're old school with me from day one, thanks again for the support. So we got a 2012 Nissan Versa, right, aka a Latio, right? So customer complaint is that he's losing throttle body response when he's driving, right? So he's not sure if it's the pedal sensor, is it the throttle, is it the ECU? He's not sure what it is, so he asked if we could just check it out for him. So let's see if we pop the hood and see what we get. It could be a simple thing as a harness issue, or even if, let's say, I'm not sure if it's something like, you know, the throttle body that's having an issue. Alright, so this is an N17 model. It has the HR15 engine in it. So let's do a quick visual. Right, and make sure that, you know, the harness is intact, everything is plugged in before we put the scan tool on. Right, you see the mass airflow, everything is good. Right, so I'm not sure what it is. Basically, he said he took the vehicle to scan and it came up with a code, but he wasn't sure about it, so he was trying to obtain ECU or something like that, and somebody gave him my number and he's asked if I could check it out for him. So let's pop the scan tool on the vehicle first and see what codes come up, and probably use it as a guide, probably take it for a test run also and do some checks before, you know, we throw any parts at it, or even diagnose it, hopefully that we don't have to put no parts on it. Right, so we're going to do a quick scan to see what codes come up. Let's see on the ABS, I'm seeing the front right wheel speed sensor. Right, that's have nothing to do with me. On the ECM, I'm seeing a P0223, which is a TP Sensor 1 circuit bank 1, and a P0123, which is the throttle / pedal position sensor switch A. Right, so basically that should give me some kind of direction to see what the customer is experiencing. Right, normally when you see that P0123 code, right, it have something to do with the throttle, the harness, or the, let's say, the pedal, right? Also, if you see the TP Sensor 1, right, matter of fact, let me do a little breakdown of what the throttle body has in it, right? So you have the throttle body actuator, and there you have a DC motor, right, which has a, let's say, a 12 volt and a ground, right? Let's say, in order to move the DC motor. Basically that controls the flap, right? And what inside that actuator, right, you will have TP1 and TP2, that, right, which is the signal wire, and then you will have the signal ground, right? Most of the time the TP1 and TP2 has the same the ground, right? So let's see how many wires this has. Take my watch off to put my hand between there. So I'm seeing it got 6 wires, right? So 6 wires, we got 6 wires coming out that on that harness, right? So most likely it will be power and ground for the DC motor, right? TP1 signal, TP2 signal, then you will have a 5 volt ref, and you also have a TP1 and TP2 sharing the same ground, right? So it's a basically what that does is measures, and it talks to basically, or communicates to the pedal sensor to tell you where the throttle position is based on your accelerated pedal, right? And they communicate in and out, so they could send information back to the ECU, right? And so on and so on, right? But I said I'm gonna do some checks on it real quick, make sure that I have my 5-volt ref. If I have my 5-volt ref, then I'm just going a little further and see what's good with the sensor, the sensing wire. But if I'm not seeing my 5-volt ref, I have to do my checks and see if my 5-volt ref is like not there and pulling the system, or our next sensor is pulling down the system, right? Where the 5-volt ref is shared throughout other sensors. It could be the mass airflow, it could be a pressure sensor, you know. So first thing I gotta do is gotta make sure I'm getting 5-volt ref, and it have to stay high, right, at all the time. It doesn't drop, right? I could also do some little quick checks before I take it off and check it. They probably do a little wiggle test and see what's good, right? What I'm gonna do first here, I'm gonna just go on my battery pole. See, I'm getting 12.37 volts. All right, so that's me just double, you know, doing my checks on my leads, right? Make sure my leads is good. So I'm gonna just put the alligator clamp, the negative on the negative pole like this, right? So what I'm gonna do is just, these pins are very small, so I gotta get the key is on, engine off, right? So I'm just gonna get my pins and see what I can get there. Let's see what I can hook up to. Alright, hold on real quick. Alright, so we're gonna do some quick checks. Alright, so on my wires, key on, engine off, on my green wire, I'm just gonna check to see what I'm getting. So I'm getting, let's say, 1 millivolt. The next wire I'm getting basically a ground here. Next one I'm getting ground. So I'm getting ground here. So I'm getting 4.8 volts here. I'm getting my 5 volts on this one. So on these two wires here, I'm getting 5 volts. So I'm getting 5 volt here. I'm getting 4.9 volts here. Right. So what I'm going to do next, right? I'm gonna remove the airbox. I'm gonna back probe into the throttle so I can open the plate and so I can figure out what the signal wire is. I don't know what the signal wire is, so let me just remove this box and so I can get access to it. I don't have anyone here to assist me right now to open the throttle, so I have to do it manually. So I'm just gonna move this out of the way, probably put it here so you can see it. Right, let's see if I can get y'all to come in a little better. Right, I'm going to take the key on, engine off. Alright, so sorry about the glare. Let's see if I can set it up better over here. So I got you set up over there. I'm going to remove the mask. I'm going to take this out. Alright, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to take this airbox out. Move this probe out of the way. And just take this whole box out. Right, so with the airbox removed, I can work here freely. So I'm gonna plug the harness back in. Right, and I'm gonna do my checks. Right, remember the first two wires was 5 volts, and the next one was like 4.8. So my 5 volt have to stay up, right? So I said I don't have any wiring diagram at my disposal right now, so I'm just, you know, trying to figure it out. So let's say we got the harness like this, right? So if you got the harness like that, we got 6 slots. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I got it facing this way, the first one I'm supposed to be getting 5 volt, a 5 volt ref, right? So that's supposed to stay 5 volt high all the time. On the next one, I got 4.8 volts here unplugged, right? So I'm expecting this to drop also. So let's do our checks again. Said I'm using the N2 neuron. So real cool graphing meter. I can probably put it on graph. Let's see. Let's see if I put it on graph what happens. So as I said, I'm using my N2 neuron, which is a graphing multimeter, right? Basically, I just want to get a clear picture of what's going on. So as I said, I'm just going to touch this on the battery pole first. I'm getting 12.6, as you can see, is remaining high. So I'm using this in tandem with the scan tool to see what's good. But right now the key is off, so let's put the key back on. It's going to have a mass airflow code because I got the mass airflow unplugged. But I just want to quickly just check these pins that's going to the throttle. So the first one, I'm expecting to see the 5 volt remain 5 volt. Let's see if I can get it in. Right, so I'm getting 5.1 with it plugged in, and let me see if I can get you close up so you can see what I'm seeing. Sorry about the glare. Right, so right now, key on, engine off. I'm getting 5 volt on the 5 volt rev, so basically my 5 volt is good. Alright, so let's go to the next wire. This one I was getting like 4.88 volts. This is the wire right next to it. So plugged in, I'm getting basically a ground, right? So I'm getting 0.76. So normally when you see on your scan tool, if you look this pit up, right, you will see on the TP sensor, you will see 0.76. So this have to be one of my signal wires, right? So it dropped to 0.76 volts. So this got to be one of my signal wires, right? I'm not sure what it is, if it's high or low, if it's 1 or 2. So I'm going to just open the throttle slowly, and you should supposed to see that number increasing. So you see it's increasing to 1.2 to 3. So that is one of my signal wires. So I'm going to label that on my, always keep a scrap, a pen and or a pencil. So this is my signal wire. So I'm going to the third pin. I was getting ground on that pin. Let's see what we get now. So we're going into the third pin. Key on, engine off. So that went high. So that's another signal wire. So I'm getting 4.3 volts on that number 3. So this is 4.3 volts plug, right? And I was unplugged, I was getting 0.76 volts. So that's my signal wire. I'm not sure which one it is. This is number 1 or 2, right? Most likely that's number 2, right? And the first one was number 1. So I'm expecting to see ground on the other pin, which is number 3. So I'm seeing a ground, right? So this one is let's see what it is. It's also a ground. And the last one will be a ground also. So so what I said, like I said previous, right? You will have a 5-volt ref. You have a signal 1. You have a signal number 2. You will have a ground, signal ground, which is 1 and 2. That's 4 wires. I also will have a ground for my DC motor, and I will have a power for my motor. So the reason I'm getting ground on these last 2 pins is because the vehicle is off, right? Most likely when the car starts, the ECU will send voltage to it, right? You see it moving back and forth, but I know the first, the second and the third wire is my signal wires, right? So let's come out of this. I'm gonna just show it to you like this, so probably you understand what I'm saying. So this is the second pin. I'm just back probing gently. Right now I'm getting 0.76 volts, but if I just slightly push on the plate, you'll see that I'm going up to all the way up to 4 volts if I open it as Y, right? And if I go to the third wire, I'm getting ground. I'm getting high, and what the ECU do will pull down. So that's why on the scan tool you will see they go opposite. So if I'm opening the plate, this will drop. I'm closing the plate now. So those are my 2 signal wires, right? Alright, so since we got that out of the way, as I said, the code is TP Sensor 1 circuit, right? So anytime you see circuit, I go straight for electrical. So most likely the second wire is a problem child in this case, right? Let's see if we could get that vehicle to act up. Probably was just change the throttle, and that should be it, right? Because it seems like I'm getting everything I'm supposed to get. I can't do the troubleshoot test to see if it works. What I can do is use my 5-volt, and if I don't have an open on my circuit, I can use a 5-volt and send my signal wire while I'm watching the scan tool and see what's good, right? I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I can take my 5-volt and jump it to my signal wire, right? And if it remains high, well, basically my circuit integrity is good. If I jump it to the 3rd pin, which will be low, he will automatically go high, right? But the only hiccup with that, you can end up pulling down your whole 5-volt, and I'm not in the mood to fix anything else on this vehicle, because if you do the wrong thing and jump the wrong wire, you can definitely pull down the rest of your circuit, right? So let's take this off, take it for a run, see what's good, see what complaints the customer is experiencing, and then we'll determine if you're going to replace I'm going to replace the throttle. No ifs, no buts. All my circuits is there, it's moving like it's supposed to, it's doing what it's supposed to, but this is at static, right? It's not under load right now. So like I said, let's start the vehicle up, put everything back together, and take it for a run and see what's good on the. Most likely I could scope the 5-volt. I could scope the. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put my scope on this engine real quick. So I'm monitoring with my scan tool, and I'm also gonna watch the signal wires and see what's happening when it fails. Right, so what I got set up here, I got my blue trace on TP1, I assume, and the green trace is TP2, right? So I'm just gonna plug it in I'm gonna take this vehicle for a test run, see if I could get the fault to, you know, reoccur. And I'm gonna drive with my scope on. Let's take it for a spin and see if it could happen again, and see if I see anything falling out or not pulling down to the ground or whatever, right? And I'm monitoring it with my in tandem with my scan tool, right? So let's set this up. We finna set this up and then go for a drive. Yeah, so what else? The customer did say it tends to happen like intermittent. Like sometimes he drives good and then sometimes it doesn't. So he said the check light was on yesterday. It clearly has a fault code, but all of a sudden it's off right now, right? So I'm gonna go into the ECM. Let's record that. Let's set up all my records so I can take this vehicle for a spin and see if anything will show up. Right, so I got the scan data running in the background. Let's read TPS. Matter of fact, let me show you. Let me switch this off. Key on, engine off, right? Alright, so the first thing I'm gonna do, what we gotta do, right? We gotta pull up the acceleration sensor pedal 1 and 2, and we're gonna go after TP 1 and 2, right? We're gonna grab that. Now, there is a saying that these supposed to be matching. That's not always true, right? I've saw in numerous cars where it doesn't match. These figures don't look alike, and you can't use that basically, right? You gotta try to understand what the system is reading and take it from there. So if I step on the acceleration pedal, right, I expect to see some movement from the acceleration pedal, ACC sensor 1 and sensor 2. I'm going again, and every time I step on the pedal, the X pedal, it reacts. So is that a foolproof test? No, but it also shows that the APP is doing what it's supposed to do. Let's cancel this. Right. Let's start the vehicle and see what happens to the TPS. So right now, if I step on the X, you see the TPS moving, you see the APP moving. So it's clearly, you know, performing. No check light is on, but clearly we have some fault codes. So if I'm gonna read the codes, you see they got the P0223 and the P0123. So let's check freeze frame. Let's see when it happens. Basically, his coolant temperature be 67. What else? He's not driving. Actually, like he stepped on the X. Absolute throttle position is at 89%. What else does it tells me here? Nothing else. What else? Let me see the freeze frame in this one. It tells me the same thing. So the vehicle is warming up at 67 degrees. Fuel trim was at 100%. Was like it was still in closed loop. He wasn't driving at all because it's at 0. Absolute throttle position sensor is 89. Alright, so let's come out of there and let's go into read data, all data. I'm going to pull up the acceleration pedal sensor. I'm going to go and put up my TPS. I'm going to graph the both of them. So when you step on the X, you see how they react, right? What I'm seeing so far is just TP, what's that, 1? I'm not, as I said, don't hold me that. The first one, which is the blue channel, that's the only one that's that's active, and the other one is same. It remained at 0 since we took off. This car sounds horrible. Like you actually hearing a lot of noise, engine noise. Yeah, actually, I'm getting it right now. It's feeling like the transmission is slipping, like you're not moving anywhere. It's making a whining noise. Oh, let me see. What else am I seeing? Right now, I'm still not seeing anything. Let's pause this real quick and let's take a look at what is happening. I'm seeing like one sensor is responding and the next is not. The other one is not doing anything. It haven't changed since we left. That's too much. As you can tell right here, TP, which one is this red one? He's not even, well, he's even moving. Am I on the correct sensor? I believe I am. What is this going up to? 20 volts. How is it 20 volts? Ain't no way in hell this could be 20 volts. That's high. Alright, so let's see if I could go. I'm trying to go forward. The car is not moving. Actually, I'm rolling back. I'm trying to go forward. Basically, I lost power. I'm stepping on the X. Right now, the vehicle is on. I'm trying to step on I'm stepping on the X. The vehicle is on. It's running. I'm recording. And I'm seeing my acceleration pedal moving, but not my TP. Both of them went basically flatline. So, he said when that happens, he have to pull over and switch it off and then put it back on, and it stops. It goes right back. I'm not sure. It's strange. Look, I'm stepping on it's not the acceleration pedal. This is me pumping my acceleration pedal. I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in drive. And you see my acceleration pedal moving, but not my TP. Basically went flatline. Alright, so what we're going to do, let's switch this back in park. He said you got to switch off for a bit. Put it back on. I see like it looks like it reset. I'm not sure. Start back. And then it comes back. Alright, let's see if we can make it back to the shop. I'm still recording. Right now I'm still getting throttle position set, moving, but it's making like a whining noise. You know, like if a transmission bearing is out, that's what it sounds like. He said that he replaced the transmission and the engine. He did mention that. So, do I want to chase ghosts? No. But it feels like if a transmission is slipping, that's what it feels like. I'm stepping on the X right now, and I'm going all the way up to like 3,000, and I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not even going over 30. It feels like a transmission is slipping. Okay, that's what this feels like also. Let's put it back in park. Let's switch off for a bit. Let's switch back on. Start. Alright. This feels like the transmission is slipping. 2,000. I'm stepping on the gas. I'm at 2,500. I'm at 40. I'm not trying to 40, 50. And if I step on the X, I'm at 60. This could be two things. It could be a throttle problem, and it can also be a transmission issue that he's having, that he's experiencing right now. You're hearing that whining. The vehicle not letting me. Yeah, man, this sound like transmission also. Alright. I gotta pull over. Gotta switch off. Alright, let's see, what is this next? Let's start back the vehicle. Put it in drive. Let's see if we can make it back to the shop. This feel like it's more than a throttle position issue. Feel like the transmission also is on the way, is way out. And you got a lot of suspension work to be done. I'm hearing things clanking and clocking on this vehicle. The window is not working. The door is not opening from inside. What else? What else I'm seeing here? The hood latch not working. The gas lid part is not working. It's like, come on, dude. You got this. You need to sell this vehicle, man. This vehicle. Oh man, this vehicle driving sounds like, you know what? Oh man. So I'm like, right now I'm all the way up to like 6,000 RPM, and I'm going at 50 kilometers per hour. Right, so as you can see, they are no longer green.